Kids have to be exposed to new foods more than 20 times. Some kids, it's up to 50 or 100. Like they just have to keep being exposed to it. My kids are teens now. And I mean, I've been putting in vegetables on their plates since 2007. And sometimes they don't touch them. And then one day they'll just be like, this isn't so bad. So I think we have to remember that it's not the end of the world if our little kids don't like a vegetable right away. They will eventually. So yeah, including it with a familiar food so it's not stressful for them.
Hello and welcome to the Consistency Project with E.C. Sinkowski. My name is Patrick Cummings. Every episode I have the privilege of having a discussion with EC on subject matters that range from nutrition to fitness to the choices we can all make to live a healthier, more functional life. By exploring both the principles at play and the actions worth carrying out as a result, it's our goal to get you thinking, get you moving, and get you taking more consistent steps toward optimizing your well-being. Thank you so very much for tuning into the show this week. I am here by myself for a quick introduction because this week we have a conversation that EC had recently with her good friend Jessica Beacom of the popular site Real Food Dietitians. The Real Food Dietitians post healthy and simple recipes, food prep, and meal planning tips on their website and social medias. EC and Jessica together in this conversation talk about strategies for involving kids in healthy eating habits, tips for meal planning, and how to save money on healthy food, as well as much, much more. If you want to learn more about Jessica and the Real Food Dietitians, you can check out their book, The Real Food Table, which is a collection of some of their best meals, many of which EC tells me are 800-gram challenge and lazy macros friendly. The Real Food Dietitians make eating mostly whole, unprocessed food simple and accessible. And again, if you'd like to learn more about them, check them out on social, The Real Food Dietitians, or at their website, therealfooddietitians.com. We've included both those links in the show notes, as well as a blog post to the 45 meal prep ideas that EC and Jessica talk about in this here episode. Before we get into it, quick reminder, if you are not yet subscribed or following wherever you are listening or watching this here conversation, please do so you do not miss a future episode. All right, without further ado, here is EC and Jessica of the Real Food Dietitians.
All right, well, Jess, thanks so much for coming on the Consistency Project today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know. It's good to reconnect. We were just chatting. I used to be in Boulder and know you all with the Real Food Dietitians. And it's always fun when different people in my masterclass will post recipes from RFD. And I'm like, I know them. They're such a good resource. So I'm so excited to have you on because I think, a lot of times, and you know this from your dietitian background, that a lot of times we can get stuck in thinking about the science and thinking about all of the different details of the physiology when success really comes down to just putting some really good meal strategies into place. So you are the perfect person for this topic. So thank you so much for being here. So I kind of want to start off with, you just mentioned that you have this cool meal prep blog post out with all these different meal prep ideas. And I think that's kind of where I find that a lot of clients have a ton of success with just getting really routine in their meal prep. And so are there any meal prep tips that you personally do without fail almost every week that sets yourself up for success?
Yeah. So at a bare minimum, I always meal plan. So I look at the week and I figure out what do I have going on this week? How many meals this week do I need to make? And can I rely on leftovers? And so I'll make sure that I pull any meat from the freezer and at least have a plan. And if I have time, which often I'll just make time, nobody has time unless you make time.
Yeah.
I might prep either to the point of cooking. So if it's like a slow cooker meal, I'll prep it. So all I have to do is put it in the slow cooker and turn it on. Maybe I will, do a batch prep where I'm prepping up proteins. Maybe I'm cooking some rice or roasting off some sweet potatoes and vegetables, and those can be combined into other meals. So I know this is so different for everybody. I have a family, so I have 2 teenagers that I have to feed. So my prep is a little bit different when I'm prepping for the entire family, but there's some weeks where I know my pain point isn't so much dinner, it's my lunches because work is so busy. So I might do a batch prep of protein, vegetables, and a starch, and then I combine everything with a sauce or something like that. So those are the things I do at a bare minimum. If I have more time, maybe on the weekend, I will spend 2 or 3 hours. I might cook something entirely and then just reheat it through the week and So it really depends on time, but there's always something. Like I don't ever head into the week with zero plan.
Oh shoot, you need to come to my kitchen. I guess with that,
I mean, I have the added benefit of doing this as a job.
right, you have
So,
some years here of history and practice. But
yeah.
with that meal prep, do you find that you do it kind of consistently every week in the sense of it's always Sunday, you do the shopping and then you come home and you have this 1 or 2 hours? Okay.
Absolutely not. No. I think in an ideal world, I would have time on Sundays to do this, but I also like to do things outside of the kitchen. And so sometimes it's just squeezing it in. A lot of times it's if I'm making dinner, maybe I can, while something is in the oven or on the grill, I can take 15 minutes to prep part of the next day's meal. So like yesterday, as we had steaks grilling, I went ahead and prepped a pork roast to go into the slow cooker. So all I had to do this morning was drop it into the slow cooker and turn it on. So sometimes it's just like, when can you squeeze it in? When can you double up your efforts? Sometimes a meal prep is like a Thursday evening. So after I've, made dinner, kitchen's already dirty, I might spend an extra hour prepping. It really depends. I mean, some of us, our weeks are really busy and some people, their weekends are busy. So you just have to find what works for you. It's probably not going to be consistent, and that's okay. I think the consistency lies in, are you doing something each week? Not, are you doing something on Sunday at 2?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think overall having the meal plan structure will help person kind of stay on track during the week. And just that idea of, reusing the kitchen while it's dirty is definitely a good one. So one of the things that you mentioned already in some of your meal prep is often kind of doing this bulk prep protein, and you touched on it a little bit, but I find that especially for my clients, that's probably kind of an unlock for them almost, right? Because the fruits and veggies can be a little bit easier, but it's nice to have, as you were kind of mentioning, like maybe a slow cooker pork done or something with protein already done in the kitchen. Might be my lack of, cooking skills, but I find that a lot of times, sometimes the pre-cooked protein, I don't know, isn't so tasty a couple days after. So do you have any good tips for like, hey, what are some really good bulk prep protein that you like? And then also how to make it still taste good on maybe Friday if you prepped it on Monday.
Right. Well, I think the first thing is this is kind of tough love. Like you're going to have to adjust your expectations. Nothing is going to taste as good as when you first make it. You first grill a chicken breast. It is delicious. It's juicy. It's everything you think it's going to be. Then it's been refrigerated for a couple of days. It's not as exciting. So I think it's adjusting expectation. And then also as you're preparing that, anytime I have pan juices or if I have grilled something and I've let it rest and the juices have leaked out, then I go ahead and I put them right back in the container with the meat. So like last night I made steak and I took the leftover steak, sliced it up, put it in a container. Then I added the juices that were on the cutting board back into the container. So that can help keep it more palatable. If you don't have pan juices or the juices from the dish, you can always use broth.
Yeah.
So,
keep it moist.
so yep, that's a good one. And then two, like obviously fattier cuts of meat. So right now I have a pork shoulder in my slow cooker. So that's going to be a lot more tender and palatable later in the week when it's been reheated. So maybe you want to use like your chicken breast early, and then you want to make something like a beef roast or a pork roast or something that's higher in fats. And then with ground meat, it's so fast. Like you could pre-make your ground beef or your ground turkey. It's not going to be that great. So do plan on having some kind of sauce or just wait to make your ground beef like when you're about to eat. Because really it's what,
really
10, 12 minutes?
Fast. Yeah, that's good. So maybe the lower fat cuts of meat, maybe a little earlier. The fattier cuts of meat, that's the ones you can stretch out a little bit longer. And then I guess anything that's more of the slow cooker, obviously, because it's just kind of already cooking in all of the juices and the liquids, that would tend to be more of the stuff to rely on for the longer term than, I guess, a grilled chicken breast or something like that.
Right. And even, chicken thighs are going to be much better a couple of days later. We have a recipe for instant pot shredded chicken, and you can use either chicken breast or chicken thighs or a mixture of the two. And when you're done cooking that has a lot of cooking liquid in it. So that's like, if you're going to use shredded chicken, put it on a salad or a wrap or make it into something else. That's a good one. because then it's already pretty juicy.
People love meal ideas. You guys know, because you put them out all the time. Great content at Real Food Dietitians. And I think, people are always looking for one or two new ideas, and maybe they're getting a little bit sick of my protein bar and 2 pieces of fruit in the morning. So I'm hoping that you could share maybe a couple of your go-to meals that you use. Maybe it's your lunch when you're saying you're busy. Maybe it's even a family dinner, just to give some people some more ideas.
We have over 700 recipes right now, so there's a lot to choose from. For me, if it's going to be that I'm going to do my lunches, I might make a sheet pan meal that has the vegetables and the protein, and then I just portion it out into my meal prep containers and stick it in the refrigerator. All I have to do is microwave or pop it in my toaster oven. But let's say I don't do that, then some of my go-tos, and I know this is for our entire team, is like an adult Lunchable. So sort of like what you've been doing, but maybe
slightly upscale.
Maybe slightly upscale, just making sure you hit the high points. Do you have carbohydrates? Do you have proteins? Do you have fats? And of course, do you have color, crunch, and grams in there? I like to make bowls with rice. I might pre-cook rice or sweet potatoes. Then I can add a protein. Frozen veggies they're so handy. We often overlook frozen veggies. They can be heated up in a matter of minutes, and you can change the whole essence of the meal can go from like Mexican if you're using peppers, or it could be like a stir fry blend, and you can go Asian with it, and then kind of a sauce of some sorts or salsa. And the sauces can be homemade, they can be bottled and prepared. Those are our like really, really quick go-tos for lunches. For breakfast, often we always say like, you can make an egg bake. If you're making dinner, you could quickly put together an egg bake you can pack it full of protein and vegetables, bake it off, and then in the morning, all you have to do is reheat.
Yeah, you mentioned some sauces, which I think help also make the recipes more interesting, especially as the days go by if you did a bunch of meal prep. Another thing that I love and I've used from you all forever is those pickled onions. I think that those can like really dress up a bowl or a salad, even though it might have been the same salad you've had. Now it seems totally different with that. So do you have any other ideas that people can think about of like, okay, well, if I have ground beef and veggies every day, how else can I make this a little bit more interesting?
Yeah, we have it's a paleo ranch dressing, so it's dairy free. And it was kind of like, we joke, it's like the dressing that made us famous. It was very, very popular for so many years and still continues to be. It comes together in just a few minutes, doesn't have any additives. You can keep it in the refrigerator for at least a week. So that one, our honey mustard sauce, again, put us on the map with the sauce people. Just a few ingredients, you already have them on hand, I can almost guarantee. And we have a great homemade teriyaki sauce. Again, comes together with pantry staples. You're not having to do anything fancy. So just changing up those sauces.
I was going to say, didn't I feel like the garlic roast potatoes has got to be one of the ones that put you guys on the map in terms of meals, right? Is that one of the most popular recipes you have?
It is. It's so popular that one time Stacy and I were at a conference and somebody yelled across an entire like convention hall, like, "There's the crispy roasted potato ladies."
That's what you're known as. Oh, man.
That's what we're known as.
And that uses the ranch dressing or not the ranch dressing you just mentioned?
It uses a ranch seasoning, but we always serve it with a ranch dressing, the one we mentioned. Those are great. You can prep them ahead and, you can put them into a breakfast scramble. You could have them, you can eat them hot, you can eat them cold. They're often a base for a bowl that I make.
Yeah, they're so good. And, my listeners will be happy to know that somehow those do count for the 800-gram challenge. You're going to think you're eating candy if you check out that recipe by then. But yes, those potatoes do count for the 800-gram challenge.
They do.
Awesome. Well,
they're life-changing.
Yeah, they are quite good. You do have a couple teenagers, as you mentioned. And so I had a recent episode talking about kids lately and got some tips just around that. But I would love to get your take on some simple strategies for kids and really helping to encourage that more whole foods than not mentality.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like encourage or involving them. So whether that be involving in the planning, like, hey, we're having meatloaf on Tuesday. What kind of vegetable would you like? And if they say corn and peas every day, it's like, well, corn and peas, it's still a vegetable. Maybe It isn't broccoli or Brussels sprouts, but it's still a vegetable. And get them involved in that. Have them help with preparation as much as possible. Maybe they're pouring it into the bowl. Maybe they're, taking it out of the frozen bag or something. And then whenever you serve something that is maybe new or novel to them, making sure you have something on the plate that they really enjoy. So if they really like peas, maybe you put a Brussels sprout on there. You don't even bat an eye. Either they don't have to try it, but if they try it, maybe it's like, great, they'll try it. Like we know that kids have to be exposed to new foods more than 20 times. Some kids, it's up to 50 or 100.
Wow.
Like they just have to keep being exposed to it. My kids are teens now. And I mean, I've been putting in vegetables on their plates since 2007. And sometimes they don't touch them. And then one day they'll just be like, this isn't so bad. I kind of like this. So I think we have to remember that it's not the end of the world if our little kids don't like a vegetable right away. They will eventually. So yeah, including it with a familiar food so it's not stressful for them. Yeah, one of the things I did with my kids, I still do this, is I create like a veggie tray. It was just a nice plate that I put carrot sticks, celery, cucumbers, maybe mini bell peppers on there. And I put, our ranch dressing in there because they love that. And when I would be making dinner and they're in that witching hour where they've come home from school, maybe they've had a small snack, but they're starting to melt down before dinner and you're heading into like the evening, I just put out this veggie tray on the counter. And if they were hungry, that's what they could graze on. And some days they would go ham on it, some days they wouldn't, but it was, again, exposing them to fruits and vegetables. And also targeting a time when they're probably hungry. They came home from school, they came home from sports, and they'll probably just eat that you have there.
Yeah, do you have any other tips too? Because I know you guys have a busy life and you like to be active for kids stuff when you're out on the weekends and any sort of prep or anything like that. Because I'm sure like either soccer games or sports games or other activities that kind of are difficult to keep up with them and you want them to eat healthy instead of, I don't know, whatever fast food might feel like faster in the moment.
Yeah, like I always pack a cooler. There's always toting a cooler to these. And so it does take a little bit of forward thinking, like I'm going to probably make some sandwiches. At the very least, I'll probably have some deli meat. Maybe I'll have string cheese in there. I might have sliced cheeses. I'll have different kinds of dip or hummus. I've got, bagged veggies like pre-cut carrots, celery, mini peppers, those things that don't require a lot of preparation. They're always in the cooler. So it's there to offer them. Like I said, it's not going to be their first choice necessarily, but it's there. And if they're hungry, they're going to eat it. Like I'm not making available, Snickers bars or something out of the cooler.
Awesome.
So it does take some planning,
Yeah.
And even if you have to I know this is more expensive, but if you have to slide into the deli and get some pre-made things that they're going to eat, then you're going to spend money whether you go out to eat or whether you slip into the deli and pick something up. So
yeah, I mean, I would love to get your take, if you don't mind, just about your philosophy when talking to your daughters about nutrition. This has been another question that's come in recently, and it's always fun to share my opinion, but I don't have kids. So since you're a dietitian, I'd love to just kind of hear, how do you handle talking about healthy food? I know that you don't want to demonize some of the Snickers products and stuff like that, but I know that you want to encourage more whole food than not. Do you have any just sort of general strategies you want to share on that? Maybe it's on the weekends, you got the cooler. Hey guys, we got all the turkey. They want the Snickers bar. How do you handle that type of stuff?
I mean, it depends on their age. Like it's a little bit easier when they're younger and you have more control over what's going into them. As they're older and they make their own choices, their friends have access to things and they share things. I think the first thing is control what you can control. So pack the cooler with the things that you want them to have. And understand that there's always going to be the sports event where there's a cupcake afterward. And, it's like you said, you don't want to demonize it. You don't want to vilify those foods because we all have those foods at times. I don't think that every soccer game should end in a cupcake, but not to get too worked up about it. And with my kids, when they're making choices, especially when they're outside of the home, I really talk about nutrition in a way that's pretty neutral. I'll say obviously we want to be focusing on foods that provide growing, strong, athletic bodies with the building blocks that they need. So we do want to have a focus on protein. My kids are really good at focusing on protein, but now it's color and crunch. I'm not even saying fruits and veggies. I'm saying color and crunch. I want you to have something living on your plate. Sometimes I'll even say, did you have a living food today? And so, yeah, I think it's so easy as a mom, especially as a dietitian and as a woman, to start wanting to control this. And
yeah, no, I think that's great. I think just kind of that neutral and understanding that things aren't always going to be perfect are great additions for people to work from. So yeah, awesome. Another thing that I hear often about when people are trying to do this more whole food thing than not is not just all the difficulty with meal prep and stuff, but also that it's so expensive. So you must have heard this once or twice over the years.
At
So,
least twice in 25 years.
okay, at least twice. Yeah, at least twice. Good. So you must have a few tips when people are looking to save money and they want to be eating all these fruits and veggies and whole food protein sources.
Yes, absolutely. I think like again, the first thing is going to come with a little serving of tough love. Like if health is a priority, shifting a little bit more of your budget towards food is also going to have to be a priority. So we all have things that we probably could cut back on spending and shift those dollars towards what's important to us. So whatever that might be for me, I don't have cable TV, I don't go to movies, I don't go to the bar and that kind of stuff. So I'm taking that money and I'm putting it in the bucket for healthy food. But beyond that, I know there are people who are already doing that and they still want to save money. And I totally get that. So buying fruits and vegetables and whole protein options when they're on sale, or buying, if you buy 1 pound of chicken breast, or you can buy 4 pounds of chicken breast, take them home, put the ones you're not going to use in in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
And then with fruits and veggies, of course, when they're in season, they're going to be so much less expensive. Like right now, berries are in season. They're way less expensive now than they are in February. So trying to eat seasonally, knowing that we're coming into the fall, we're going to see that apples, pears, the start of citrus season, those are all going to become much more available and they'll be less expensive. And we'll see berry prices go up as they become a little less available. So thinking about eating in season, and the same goes with vegetables, like potatoes, root vegetables, squashes are all coming in season. They're going to be very inexpensive. Greens will be more expensive. So it's just what is in season and where can I save some money? Frozen fruits and veggies are one of my favorites. I have an entire freezer drawer packed with frozen veggies because not only are they inexpensive and they're readily available, you don't have to worry about them going bad in your fridge, but they're literally picked at the height of their ripeness. So they're frozen within 24 hours of harvesting. So you're not losing nutrients. When we have fresh fruit and fresh vegetables traveling 2,000 miles across the country, they're losing nutrition as they travel. So I'm not saying that they're not good, but frozen are really, really great and people tend to overlook them.
Canned, do you find that you end up using canned at all? I think I probably will use those for beans most often.
Yeah.
But yeah, those can be some options, some filler options as well, I think, to kind of round out the budget.
Yeah, they're definitely options. And I think too, when we talk about accessibility, one of the things we focus on at the Real Food Dietitians is all of our recipes are made with ingredients that are readily available. And if you can't get that ingredient, we're going to give you a substitution that you can find just about anywhere. Stacy lives in a community of just a couple of hundred people. And if she can't find it, we're not going to put it in the recipe.
Wow.
So canned vegetables can fill in the gaps. You can get low sodium canned vegetables, no salt added canned vegetables. Again, they're also processed at the height of their nutrition. So they're still a very good option.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
had no
canned
idea
beans are.
she was so remote. Oh my goodness. I knew she was out there, but 200, that's a great test of whether or not you're going to put a recipe out. So that's awesome. I guess you kind of covered a little bit of that with kind of buying when things are on sale and maybe freezing some of that meat. But are there any other tips that you have for buying in bulk and storing? For me, whenever I try to buy in bulk, I end up either the stuff maybe goes bad or I don't end up using it. So would love any more tips that you have for kind of buying ahead and storing for kind of the non-kitchen savvy folk like myself.
Yeah, I think for places like Costco and those box stores where you can buy in bulk, you really have to look, okay, so this might be the per unit price, but if you don't use it and you throw it away, that per unit price is much higher than what you think you're getting. So sometimes it is better for you to shop, smaller amounts or use a service like Thrive Market. If you're buying pantry staples, those are typically 20 to 30 to 40, even 50% off of retail. So that's a great place to stock up. And then another thing that even I do is when I go to Costco, I find a friend who wants to split some of my purchases. I don't need a 7-pound bag of pine nuts.
No.
So I might be like, hey, do you want to split this bag? And then, so it's a great way because a lot of people how many jars of pasta sauce could you use? You might use them all in a year, but like if you get a thing of olive oil, like you're probably not going to use it before it goes bad. So consider sharing that purchase with somebody else, or just go ahead and buy it in a smaller amount, knowing that it may be the same in the long run.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. This meal prep, is it a book, is it an ebook, or is it a blog post that you have?
It's a blog post. It's 45 meal prep recipes. It's organized by meal. We have breakfast, lunch, dinners, snacks. And it's kind of a best of the best. So it's the ones that our team is always making because they're easy. They're, all of our recipes are very veggie forward. So I think it's great for the 800-gram challenge participants.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. We'll definitely link to that as well as your website. And for people who don't know, this came out a couple years ago. You also have a book called The Real Food Table. It's got some my favorite recipes in it, including the buffalo chicken with the spaghetti squash. I consider myself a real chef when I can pull that one together. But yeah, can you give just a little bit of overview of like what those recipes entail? And can somebody like me tackle the recipes in the book? Kind of who was the target market for that?
Absolutely. So it's 120-ish recipes that are suited for every day. So they're all very approachable. So anybody, if you don't have cooking skills, you're going to be able to come into the kitchen, create something with one of our recipes, and walk out, like you said, feeling like you're a chef. We have taken out unnecessary steps in a lot of cases. We've gotten rid of extra ingredients. The ingredients are easily accessible. I think that we write to ourselves in a sense, like we know what it's like to be a busy human with multiple passions, whether that be work or athletics or anything else. So we're like, okay, what would we do in this instance? So all of our recipes contain all of the nutrition information. There's always a substitution, whether that be for gluten or dairy or eggs. We do our best to always cover that so that we're really writing for, well, we always say like everyone's welcome at our table. Like there's something for everyone in the recipes we create.
It definitely is true. I can follow along with the recipes. I've made several of the recipes. They're all very good. So check out that book, The Real Food Table, as well. We'll link to all of your stuff. And thank you so much for coming on today, Jess.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again.
Yes, you too.
Thank you so very much for tuning into the show this week, and thank you to Jessica from the Real Food Dietitians Project. Again, if you'd like to learn more about Jessica and what they're doing there at the Real Food Dietitians, check them out on social media at the Real Food Dietitians and their website, therealfooddietitians.com. Again, we've got those links in the show notes. One more time, if you are not yet subscribed to the show wherever you are listening or watching this, please do. EC and I appreciate it. She and I will be back next week for another episode of The Consistency Project.